I don't remember falling asleep that night. The fear of what waited in the dark had worn me down. But when I opened my eyes, or thought I did, I wasn't in my bedroom. I was lying on the hardwood floor of a hallway. Not mine. The walls were peeling, damp with moisture. The overhead light flickered erratically like it struggled to stay alive. A cold breeze drifted through, and I heard the sound of distant sobbing. I tried to stand, but just like before, I couldn't move. My body was useless. I was paralyzed. Suddenly, a door appeared at the far end of the hallway. It hadn't been there before, old wooden, painted red. But the paint was faded, chipped, and what dripped from it wasn't paint. It looked like blood. It smelled like blood. I don't know how, but I understood something without being told. Whatever was behind that door, it had come for me, and I had let it in. That morning, I woke up in my bed, but there were splinters in my palms. Tiny, red ones, as if I had been dragging myself across wood. I hadn't been outside. I knew I hadn't. I didn't go to work that day. I called in sick and sat in my apartment, afraid to even blink. The shadows in the corners seemed darker than usual. My reflection in the mirror lagged by half a second. The hum of the fridge had a rhythm, like breathing. That night, I locked my bedroom door, left every light on, and drank enough coffee to keep me wired for a week. I swore I wouldn't sleep, but sleep came anyway. This time I wasn't alone. There were others in the hallway, half-visible people, standing motionless, facing the walls like children in a punishment. One of them turned to me. It was my mother. But not really. She died when I was 19. Drunk driver, closed casket. Yet here she stood, her head caved in on one side, her left eye drooping like melted wax. She smiled, and it made my skin crawl. "Danny," she rasped. "They want to talk to you." She stepped aside, and the red door creaked open, and something stepped out. It wasn't the tall one this time. No, this one was worse. Its body was hunched, almost spider-like. Its face was a blend of many, stitched together like a patchwork quilt of suffering. Its fingers were bone-white, ending in needle-like claws, and its voice was made of everyone I've ever loved, all speaking at once. Lie. "Still," it said, "and let us in properly." It climbed on top of me. I could feel each leg dig into my chest, each breath colder than the last. And then its mouth opened, unnaturally wide, and it started to inhale. I felt something leaving my body, not air, something deeper. When I woke, my nose was bleeding. My bedsheets were soaked with sweat, and my heart, I couldn't feel it beating for a moment, just stillness. That day, I did something I swore I'd never do. I reached out to a medium. Her name was Nyth'Vael, a woman in her late 50s. She ran a strange little shop in a quiet suburb outside the city, Voss Visions, carved in faded gold lettering above the door. The bell above the entrance let out a jarring, broken chime when I stepped in. She took one look at me and said, "You've already seen them, haven't you?" I nodded. "They're not from here," she whispered, pulling the curtains closed. "They exist in the space between thoughts, between the moment sleep begins and consciousness ends." She placed her hands on the table and looked me dead in the eyes. "You didn't just read about them, Daniel. You invoked them." "I didn't mean to," I snapped. "I just read stories. You believe them. You pictured them. That's all it takes." I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. But instead I just sat there broken. "Can you stop them?" I asked, voice shaking. "No," she said quietly. "But you can keep them from fully entering." She handed me a pouch of black powder, charcoal, sage, crushed bones of something I didn't ask about, and an old tarnished coin. "Place this under your tongue before you sleep. Draw a circle with the powder around your bed, and whatever you do, don't speak their name." I blinked. "What name?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Nyth'Vael." Even speaking it seemed to make the air in the room drop 10 degrees. Followed Mira's instructions. Every one of them. I drew the circle. I placed the coin under my tongue. I even kept a candle burning. A thick red one that she said would ward off spirits. I laid in bed, afraid, waiting. Time passed. The candle flickered, and then the power went out. The darkness was instant, suffocating. My breath quickened. I grabbed my phone. The screen didn't turn on. I tried to move, but once again, I was frozen. I wasn't asleep. I was awake. Awake and paralyzed, and the shadows inside the circle began to twist. First one, then two, then three figures began to form, each more deformed than the last. The tall one, the stitched one, a faceless child with nails in her scalp. They surrounded the circle, staring down at me. Then the air split open with a sound I can only describe as teeth grinding on glass, and something slithered out of the floor. It was Nyth'Vael, 7 feet tall, skin like tar, eyes like pits of endless night, and a mouth that split vertically down to its chest filled with rows of human fingers. It stepped into the circle, and the powder blew away like it never existed. The moment Nyth'Vael crossed the boundary of the circle, the air inside the room thickened, like I was drowning without water. My chest felt like it was caving in, bones creaking from the pressure. It leaned in close, so close that I could see its skin wasn't just black, it was moving. Faces writhed beneath it, whispering things I couldn't understand. I tried to scream, I couldn't, I tried to blink. Even that was stolen from me. Then it spoke, not with a mouth, not with a voice, but directly into my mind. "You sought us, Daniel. You read of us, believed in us, you opened the door, now we will walk through it." It placed one of its clawed hands, if you could even call it a hand, over my chest. It was like ice and fire at once, burning and freezing straight through my skin. I could feel something being torn, like threads from a fabric unraveling. I was losing myself. Just before the last thread snapped, I remembered something Mira had said. Whatever you do, don't speak their name, but what if speaking it gave them power, and unspeaking it could take it back? It was a desperate, idiotic thought. But in that moment, I had nothing else. I focused all my strength, all the fragments of will I had left, and I forced my jaw to move. It cracked loudly. My tongue was dry and heavy, but I formed the words, "I revoke you, Nyth'Vael." At first, nothing happened. Then, the creature screeched, not from pain, from fury. The sound shattered every bulb in my apartment. My ears bled, and then it vanished, just blinked out of existence like a bad TV signal. The paralysis lifted. I shot upright in bed, gasping, coughing, soaked in sweat. My nose, my ears, bleeding. The circle was gone. The coin was blackened and cracked, and on the wall, burned, into the plaster were 3 claw marks. I didn't sleep for the next 4 nights. I couldn't. I left my apartment and checked into a cheap motel near the edge of town, the Thunderbird Inn. 1970s decor, flickering neon sign, cigarette burns in the curtains. But it didn't matter. I just needed to get away. The manager, a guy named Samir, late 30s, didn't ask any questions. He looked like a man who'd seen too much to care. I paid for a week and moved into room 6. At night, I heard footsteps pacing outside my window. The front desk was empty every time I checked. The hallway light turned on and off without reason. Once, around 2:30 a.m., I caught my reflection staring at me from inside the TV screen, even though the TV was off. I called Mira again. She didn't pick up, so I went back. Boss visions. Empty. The shop was closed. No out to lunch sign. No back in 10. Just abandoned. I looked through the dusty window. Every shelf was bare. The floor was covered in soot and something was written on the mirror behind the counter. "The door is now inside you." I stumbled back, heart thundering. I wasn't just haunted. I was marked. That night in the motel, I felt it return. I didn't fall asleep. I was wide awake when the shadows lengthened unnaturally across the room. The bathroom door creaked open on its own, though I had shut it tight, and there, in the mirror again, it stood. Nyth'Vael. But this time it didn't come for me. It turned and looked into the hallway. I ran to the door, yanked it open. Room 7's door was wide open. A young couple, maybe mid-20s, and was inside. Backpackers. I'd seen them earlier, laughing by the vending machine. Now the girl was on the floor, convulsing. Her boyfriend screamed for help. The shadow towered over her, not visible to anyone else, but I could see it clearly. It was using my door to enter others, and I had let it in. I had no choice. It wasn't just about me anymore. If this thing kept growing, it wouldn't stop. So I found Mira's old notes. She had written about a ritual. Ancient, dangerous, forbidden. One that could seal the entity. Not destroy it, but bind it. It required blood, fire, and sacrifice. I drew, the symbol in salt, black chalk, and ash. I lit candles, and 7 of them, in a circle. I cut my palm and smeared the blood on my eyelids, and I invited it. I spoke its name, fully, clearly, one last time. Nyth'Vael, I summon you to be bound. The room shuddered. Lights exploded, the windows cracked, and it came. But so did Mira. I don't know how she knew. I don't know where she came from, but she stood in the doorway whispering in a language I'd never heard. She joined the chant. Her hands burned with a blue flame. "Hold him!" she shouted. I stood, even as the air turned to knives, even as my skin blistered and my eyes bled. I held it in the circle. It fought, screamed, shifted shapes, from my mother to a priest to a sobbing child. It begged, it threatened, it promised me power, peace, escape. I kept chanting, and then, with a final scream, it collapsed into itself like a dying star. Gone. The circle smoked, the blood sizzled, and I collapsed. It's been 6 months. I haven't seen Nyth'Vael since, but sometimes I hear it, in dreams, in the silence between songs, in the gap between thoughts. A low whisper. You opened the door, and one day you'll forget to close it again. I moved cities, changed my name. I sleep with lights on, salt at every entrance. I carry that cracked coin with me always, because I know the truth now. Sleep paralysis isn't just science, it's a doorway. And if you believe in what waits on the other side, it believes in you too.